Hey everyone, thanks for watching. This is Yuri Rashkin, and you're watching my Rashkin Report Substack or Rashkin Report Perspectives channel on YouTube. Welcome. Before I begin, I want to thank Yuri Shvets for raising this topic and all of you who asked me to take a closer look at the CAATSA law and share my thoughts on what it means today. Your questions pushed me to dig into the history, the meaning, and the implications of this law. And the deeper I looked, the more it became clear. This is not a story about legal technicalities. This is a story about trust, about what promises mean, about what leadership means, and about what happens when a leader treats commitments as something optional. And I want to make one thing clear right away. I am not speaking here as a Ukrainian or a Russian or a lawyer. I am not an attorney and I'm not giving legal advice. I'm speaking as an American citizen who has both the right and, I'd say, the responsibility to understand the laws of my own country, especially when they affect war, alliances, and international security. What I'm offering here is analysis, not legal interpretation. So let's talk about CAATSA. This is the law that Donald Trump signed in 2017, publicly complaining that it tied his hands. And this law states very clearly the policy of the United States is to support Ukraine's territorial integrity, to oppose Russia's destabilizing actions, to never recognize the illegal annexation of Crimea, and to reject any territorial changes forced by military aggression. In other words, CAATSA was designed to prevent exactly the kind of peace deals that give Russia what it wants in exchange for silence. But now, in 2025, we face a simple and uncomfortable question. What does it mean when the President of the United States ignores a law he himself signed? What does it mean when American policy says one thing and the American president does the opposite? It means the president is acting outside the established policy of his own government. It means that, by the logic of this law, he's effectively acting as a political ally of the Kremlin. Not legally, not formally, but in practical effect. Instead of countering aggression, he's enabling it. And this pattern did not begin today. We've seen it before, from tearing up the trade agreements he once celebrated, to violating the spirit of his own USMCA deal, the new NAFTA, to the new reports about the auto pen, the very scandal he invented to attack Biden, but now turns out to have used himself. Once again, he signs things he doesn't read, doesn't understand, or doesn't intend to follow. In his worldview, a signature is not a promise, it's a tool. Obligations are not commitments, they're decorations. And when someone with that mindset enters the domain of international agreements, whoa, well, you get exactly this kind of story. We'll make a deal and everyone will live happily ever after. Don't ask any questions. But as Arkady Babchenko, a Russian journalist, said so perfectly, the motherland will always drop you, baby, as will Trump, because for him, long term obligation is a weakness, not leadership. This brings us to another important point. The new law that prohibits the president from taking the United States out of NATO without approval from Congress. Remember that one? On paper, this looks like a strong safeguard. But here's the uncomfortable truth. If the president is already ignoring one law, why would he respect another? CAATSA, the NATO protection law, his own trade commitments, basic transparency rules, everything points to the same issue. What do you do when your leader simply does not believe in the concept of obligations? And that leads to the hardest question of all: who holds him accountable? Should Ukraine be reminding America about America's own laws? Should Europe? Should Congress? Should the Justice Department, perhaps, which right now largely operates as his political shield? Or will all of this hang in the air until there is a different president and a different attorney general? And how fair is it, really, to expect Ukraine, under missile attacks, to be the one reminding the United States of its own commitments? This is where the ghost of the Budapest Memorandum comes back. Many Ukrainians believe the United States violated it, not because America attacked them, but because America didn't do enough to defend them after Russia invaded. Russia broke the agreement directly. The United States broke it indirectly by failing to act. And Ukrainians remember this. Now, when CAATSA is being ignored, the parallel becomes impossible to overlook. Once again, America is putting its own word at risk. Because here's the truth: trust doesn't collapse in one moment. It erodes. It erodes when signatures stop mattering, when laws become optional, when promises become talking points instead of guarantees. And the deeper issue here is not about how many years someone might face in prison or whether a specific action is technically illegal. The deeper issue is credibility, the credibility of a leader, the credibility of a country, and the credibility of American commitments in the world. You cannot maintain global trust when your own leadership treats obligations as inconveniences. So we arrive at the core of the problem: accountability. Not just for leaders who sign documents and then act as if nothing happened. Not just for institutions that should defend the law, but instead defend the person in power, but also for voters who return this leader to the White House without asking the basic question: can we trust your signature? The good news is that trust can be rebuilt, but only from the inside out. When citizens demand honesty, when institutions defend the law, not the leader, when the meaning of a signature returns to what it used to be: a promise you intend to keep. Before I finish, I want to ask you a few questions. Not to find the correct answer, that's not the goal, but to start a real conversation. For instance, can you trust a leader who ignores the laws of his own country? What matters more, what a president signs or what he actually does? Should allies be forced to remind America of its own obligations, or is that our job as citizens? And what, to you, is the real foundation of trust in a leader or a nation? Share your thoughts in the comments, please. And once again, thank you. And thanks again to Yuri Shvets for bringing serious questions into the spotlight, because sometimes the issue is not where the prosecutor, but where's the maturity of the system that is supposed to uphold the law. And maturity, like trust, is a choice, our choice. My name is Yuri Rashkin, and this is Rashkin Report. Thanks for watching. Take care.